How's it going? Welcome back to Monday Talks with Morgan. We had a week off last week, but I'm not sure. Can I pull these off? It's very Jane Austen of me. I usually never have my hair up, and so it's weird. But at least I never have it up on social media. For some reason, I always put it down. Today I was like, no, keep it up. Anyway, so Monday Talks with Morgan, we're going to talk about people pleasing. And I actually got some really great questions. And I love getting questions. So if you're wondering things about yourself, feel free to reach out. That's why I'm here, is to talk about it. That's what coaches do. We talk about stuff. So I love to talk about it. So my inboxes are always open. If you want to talk more about anything, but especially about people pleasing, because in many ways, people pleasing is like the beginning. It's once someone has their spiritual moment or their awakening and they want to change their life, learning to stop people pleasing is probably the first thing they're going to have to do on some level. And we all have a different level. Hi, Dome International. I'm assuming you're Spencer or Julie. I don't know who's behind the account right now, but hi. So people pleasing is kind of the beginning, and we really have to take a look at it. And for so many people, the first step is just saying just kind of figuring out what no longer aligns with me. What are some easy things that I can do to kind of start to say no to and to make more time and energy for myself. And I really, it was me. Oh, okay. Hi, Julie. You're awesome. Welcome. So for anyone who doesn't know, Julie is my oldest, dearest friend. Well, not oldest, but dearest friend. So I have much older friends than her. Yes. Okay. I'm I have so many thoughts going through my head. Anyway, so the easiest thing to do when you're people pleasing is just to really start to say no to little things. Start small versus starting big. A lot of people want to go in for the big stuff first, and I understand that feeling of go big or go home, but often it's really best to start small. Just start saying no to little events, or say no to that friend that you don't really want to hang out with, those people. Just start to say no a little bit. Just start to actually use the word no every once in a while. Julie says, I'm really young, yes. So that's the most important thing. But then there's the next layer, and that's the thing that I've really had to confront lately. And I think that it's kind of the next step for a lot of people and not talked about as much. But it's kind of the thought of who am I? And have I built up parts of my identity that are really to please others and not really true for myself? And this is really, really hard to deal with. And it can also, when you're dealing with anything with identity, it can really put yourself into identity crisis. Who am I anyway, And, it's hard to even explain how I've had to deal with this in my life, because there's so much nuance to it. But, for example, I feel one of the things, a part of my identity is that I'm very, very, this is how I perceive it. Maybe I'm always been full of shit. But I am very, very reliable, right? I always show up. And I realized my energy lately, especially going off coffee, I can't do everything. I can't meet up with everyone. And I really have to pull back and go, what's important? Who do I really want to see? And really get clear with myself about, do I have to be that person for everyone? And the truth is I don't. Another thing for me is what kind of coach do I want to be? There are certain things that were happening in my business that I really didn't like. And I really had to confront that and deal with it. And that was really hard to do because I knew I was going to disappoint a lot of people. So there are all these different layers. And once we start peeling back some layers, you're going to get to deeper layers and you're going to be tested on a bigger level. But that's good, because it's really going to going to make your self-worth stronger. The more we say no, the more we stay in alignment with what we want, the more our self-worth is going to grow, and therefore our confidence and self-esteem, and it's all all relies on each other. So let me get into the questions because they're just so good. One of them was asking, is it weird I have to practice saying no? And the answer is absolutely not. This is awesome. This is actually, if you're a people pleaser, what you need to do to start. You need to practice, and you can even practice ahead of time. You can practice with someone you trust. This is a great way to start setting boundaries. Especially I would say when it comes to like work, because with work, obviously you have to set boundaries appropriately or you could get yourself in trouble. Obviously you don't want to get fired. So I absolutely love that. I think you absolutely should. Now, at a certain point, we want to see, setting boundaries is a skill, right? It's actually a skill we can learn as a young child if our parents teach us how to do that, and respect our boundaries as well, right? So it's a skill that we have to build up over time. So it's, with all skills, we practice first, right? So it's not weird. It's actually a good thing. I would encourage you though to, there can be a kind of cycle of needing to resist setting a boundary. Like there can be this cycle of, I have to set a boundary. Now I'm going to get stressed out about it, And this is a part of the way we get ourselves revved up enough to set the boundary. But I would really encourage this person, now that you've had a chance to practice a little bit, start to ask yourself, what does it look like if I just set the boundary? Like, what if I just go in and do it, right? Do I need to take myself through these steps of getting like really stressed out about it and like thinking all the ways to get out of it? Can I just go do it? Can I just execute? Especially if you've had a lot of chance to really practice the skill of setting boundaries, you have to, at a certain point, say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to execute. I'm just going to go set the boundary. And as you do that, it's going to become second nature. It's going to become easier for you. And that's what you deserve. I know who asked this question. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. And I just want to say, like, if you're setting a boundary, set the boundary, go do it, just execute, stop getting in your head about it. It's like Tony Robbins says, like, if you're in your head, you're dead. And with setting boundaries is no different. You really want to, you really just want to go execute and get in the habit of just executing. And then the second question is, I hope I wrote this down wrong. If I didn't, feel free to correct me. Is how to not give a crap when you're setting a boundary about other people's feelings. I hope I understood that correctly. If I didn't, let me know if you're watching this. So here's the thing. You are going to give a crap because you're a person and you care about other people's feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. What becomes a problem is when you put their feelings ahead of your own, when you put their needs ahead of your own, right? So that's when we start to like have an issue. And you can care, doesn't mean you're not going to set the boundary, That's what I would say. Like, there's this idea that people who set boundaries don't care about how the other person feels. But that's not true. That's kind of a narcissist, right? Like, that's someone who like isn't involved in the human experience. And that's not what we want to do. We want to set boundaries while respecting other people. Like, some boundaries are just like, we're done, right? And that's fine. That's fine. But I think it's really important to remember you can care and set the boundary and easily set the boundary. It's really about practice, like I was saying, and also just getting down to the root of where you got this impression in the first place that if you set boundaries, you don't care about the person. And often it's actually something we've learned from our parents, or we're kind of like, what's the word? yeah, we're kind of copying from our parents. So I really recommend you take a little deep dive into that and just ask yourself, can I care, but not put someone else's needs above my own? It's really the key there. And yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when we're so used to putting other people's needs above our own. The switching of that can feel really awkward and really hard, and that's really normal, and it's a part of the process. So just give yourself a little bit of grace. Yeah. And the last thing that I was talking about, I wanted to go over a little bit, is really learning people pleasing. There is this idea that if we stop people pleasing, like, no one's gonna like us. And the truth of the matter is, I find that people pleasers have better relationships when they start to set boundaries. You know, they have, being with a people pleaser or being around a people pleaser all the time can get really frustrating because you never actually know what they want. You know, it's kind of like, you remember that kind of like scene from The Notebook where he's like, what do you want? What do you want? That's what it's like to be around a people pleaser all the time. So I really want to say, there's this perception that it's going to hurt your relationships. In my opinion and in my experience, it only deepens relationships, especially when you go about it from a place of really clear communication. And you really, you know, you kind of have to be brave and do the hard thing and go say the thing. And you will find, I would say about 95% of the time, that it really deepens your relationships. You know, when you do it out of a place of respect and a place of learning. And you can even call yourself out, especially with people who you're really close to. Be like, look, I know I'm a people pleaser. I know I don't set enough boundaries. I know I don't tell you what I want enough. So I'm outing myself. I'm going to do better. And here's what I need from you. Or here's what I want, you know? When was the last time you actually said the sentence out loud? I want blank. Boom. Done. End of story. When was the last time? Seriously. Like, can you think of it? If not, go do that. Just go say to your partner or go say to your friend, I want to, blah, blah, blah. Don't ask them like the age old, like, hey, are you free? Or, hey, you know, can you, would you be interested? No, just be like, I want to go, like, let's say go to a restaurant. I want to go to the Italian restaurant. Do you? Just like, really, just go for it. That's what people pleasers can't even ask for simple things like that. So just start there. It's really going to change your life. It's going to change your relationships. And of course, our lives, the quality of our lives, are mostly based on the quality of our relationships. So it's epic. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really love fielding questions before, so I'm going to start doing that a lot more. Yeah, I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.